My name's David Sandage, and I've worked at the food bank for approximately 7 months now. But I first started working at the food bank 2 years ago when I needed community service hours for my high school. The food bank's mission is to provide food security for families in need.
Deal with it. Blocks it. So I gotta...
My name is Ina Gomez-Knight. Our mission to help people who is in need and to provide them food and with dignity, compassion, and respect. And it's our mission to help and be sure people get some help. Each week it's about 300 families, but each family has a different quantity of members. I would like to mention we communicate with University of Washington, and we have program calls cooking demo classes, and their representatives come and show us how to cook. Sometimes we have like extra, like for example oatmeal or like green beans, and they show us what we can do and help our clients show them how to cook some food. Do this. We got it from EFN, from Food Lifeline, from private donors, from stores like Safeway, Albertson, Walmart. This big donor is Northwest Harvest. Before we got beautiful produce from Costco or from our community gardens, Lakewood Community Gardens, DuPont Community Gardens. We call it gleaned stuff because they're nice and clean and they're ready to be served. Yeah, and sometimes people donate their stuff from their gardens, and yeah, that's very helpful. It can be all kinds of fruits and vegetables. We also provide our clients canned fruits and vegetables. I would like to say, if you have time, please come and volunteer for us. Donate your time, donate your attitude, because we do need some people who can help us, who loves to do something special for their community. We always appreciate that. Please come join us.
I've been a dietitian for about 5 years after I graduated with my master's degree, so my official title here is registered dietitian nutritionist. And I figured it was a good career to help other people. I probably see about 30 patients a week. It kind of just fluctuates a little bit. based off of cancellations. But usually the visits are about an hour to 75 minutes. In each of our individual clinics, we're usually seeing people that live like within a certain distance from the clinic or work close by. So I feel like we get to talk to a wide variety of people. Every single city is a little different population-wise, and because I work in several different clinics, I can kind of see sometimes the differences in different local populations and the differences in income levels and all kinds of things, different ages. So I feel like we reach out to the community because we are kind of depending on them wanting to come in to talk to us and to change or to fix something, instead of being in a hospital setting where they are kind of stuck there and we're telling them things that they should do but they don't necessarily want to change, versus in outpatient they would only come in if they really wanted to kind of make some kind of change. I think that my goal for the community, and kind of any community I work in, is just to kind of raise awareness about nutrition, because I think that's where, no matter what income level you are, education level, there's still a lot of really popular misconceptions with nutrition. So trying to teach everybody how to read a label, what kinds of products are probably better to buy at the grocery store, and kind of give them options too, depending on what their budget is, that they can still find healthy foods, and kind of maybe teach them different ways that they can prepare healthy meals for their family. And so smaller steps, like for the community, can just be improving access. In a lot of different communities, there's a nutrition gap, and I think probably one of the main factors is probably income, just because I think it's widely known that sometimes healthier foods can be more expensive. It doesn't always have to be the case, but especially if you're relying on buying a lot of fresh produce, then sometimes income can definitely play a role. The other big factor with income can be that there's many studies showing that in lower income areas there tends to be not as good access to larger supermarkets that have a lot of produce. They might live in what we call like food deserts, where there's only maybe a convenience store in like a 10-mile radius, and so then that store probably doesn't have a lot of fresh produce there. So a lot of it can depend on the access to actually being able to buy the fresh fruits and vegetables. Like the main contributors to unhealthy habits, I kind of was talking about the fact that sometimes people don't have a lot of time, so they tend to kind of compromise their nutrition with faster foods or eating out and stopping somewhere because they're just on the go all the time. So that sometimes leads to unhealthy habits. Or sometimes they might be so busy that they skip meals, and then later on they're snacking too much at night because they're really hungry. Along with more and more stress, I think that we're just eating more than we actually need a lot of the times, just because that we're looking for comfort in our foods, or we don't have time, so we're just trying to eat something quick and we don't care about if it's nutritious or not. So because I think we get this proportion distortion, where if you look at other countries and how much food they go through in a week, and the comparison looking at the photo from like America to a lot of other countries where their entire week's worth of food fits in like a small little square in front of them, and then the American family has like their whole kitchen filled with food, and that's how much they go through for a week. The big factor for obesity, it's kind of you're getting more calories in than you need, and it doesn't necessarily matter if it's healthy food or if it's an unhealthy food. You can still gain weight on too many calories no matter what the food is. And so a lot of it is the marketing of different foods, and people get confused is all of the different labels that companies are allowed to place on foods, like cage-free eggs or gluten-free, and not necessarily realizing that sometimes those are just marketing schemes and not necessarily meaning that that food is a healthful food.
FFA is a National Youth Leadership Organization. It stands for the National FFA Organization. And it's an organization that is a leadership organization to support ag ed courses, help students by having them develop hands-on skills, promotes personal growth, and helps them with career success in the ag industry. So this is the first year that Clover Park High School has had FFA that we know of. So FFA is part of the leadership organization that goes with our garden club. And as of any club in a school, public school district, we get funds from any fundraising that we do, CTE budgets from the state that's directly tied with our leadership organization. So most of the funds that we get, we'll have to raise. So the $1,500 grant would be beneficial for our organization because we have a community garden at Clover Park. The garden, as is, supplies some fruit and vegetables for our students, but we know, and I know, that it could do more. So the $1,500 would go for seeds and starts and soil and compost amendments to our soil, and or prepare the garden beds for the spring season and the summer, and so that our kids have the tools and the gloves and the shovels and the hand trowels that they need to make the garden successful for our community. Community gardens, especially in urban settings, first and foremost to me, the important part of them is that they provide access to healthy food choices, which can be limiting in urban settings for a variety of reasons, financial reasons, transportation reasons, etc. Having a community garden at school is beneficial because students have access to healthy food choices and can make better food choices for their families. Schools also draw families in periodically over the school year, and so families can feel more comfortable coming to the community garden at a school and accessing what they need to make better food choices for their families.
Yes, an open community garden would be very useful because any additional food we can get to these families is a big help.
Yeah, I think it would help because it's a way that it can bring a lot of different people together too, and it would maybe help take some of the cost off when people are very strapped for money. And if it wasn't a matter of price and they could just get it for free, then they'd probably be way more willing to kind of go and get stuff for their family. I've never really run into this scenario where somebody doesn't want to eat fruits and vegetables. It's kind of more just, it's harder to afford them or it takes more time to prepare them. So I think if they had some of those barriers taken away, it would definitely help with increasing fruit and vegetable intake in the